Remember these? Back then when smartphones weren't really as widespread as now, and I didn't have any consoles or anything of that nature, these Java mobile games were the games that I used to play, whether it was on my sister's phone or my mom's phone or whatever. This is what I was busy playing when I was younger, and they were borderline amazing and kind of creative. For me, one of the games I really remember playing and loving was some Olympic type game. I forgot the name of the game, but it was like summer play something or play something some, I don't know, but me and my sister used to play it like crazy, and it was so funny for no reason at all. Also back then, with the limitations of all the game devs who were using Java got really creative in the types of games they made and how they made them, and how they also made them possible to run on these phones. Some of the more creative and really expansive games that really pushed the technical limitations of the phone was made by Gameloft called Gangster 3, which was basically like a GTA clone but good and fun and all enough to fit in your phone. It was like a full game with a full story mode and open world that you can explore, and that just blew my mind away when I was younger. There was also Real Football, a football game that was also made by Gameloft, and some Java Avengers game, I think that was made by Activision or Gameloft or something like that. And even then, I'd say right now that game is better than the Avengers game that we got on the PS5. Now, this all was exciting at the time for me because I was a child and I used to see the pretty colors and the animations, and they just, they just hit my dopamine receptors and made me play them more and more. But it was also an exciting time for the phones and stuff, because it just showed the untapped potential of phones being used more than just for communicating and pushing boundaries to what we have. And now all this just made me go further and further and pester my parents more for a console, because I've already seen what I can do on a phone, or games I can play on a phone, so I just wanted to experience that more but on a bigger screen and have more games and more expansive and just like have more speed. And I pestered them for a couple of weeks, for a couple of days, years before I got my first console, which was the PS2, that I got a while after I started pestering them and just asking them to buy it for me. And nonetheless I love. But yeah, enough about let's talk about the history of Java and how it got to this point of being used for mobile games, and even one of the biggest games right now, Minecraft. Alright, so back in 1999, something called Wireless Application Protocol was introduced, or WAP for short, and I'm not talking about that freaky song. And now, some of you might recognize it or not, but I do, because I remember sites like wapchick.com or wappad.com, something like that, that I used to get my games from. I used to download games on the phone from. Basically what WAP meant was that cell phones were able to get very basic information from a wireless network, and this tiny thing is basically what kick-started mobile games and put everything into motion for it to be to the point that it got to with the Java phone game. It even got very big name console and PC developers like Activision and Ubisoft had started making whole subsidiary companies and studios just to be able to make mobile games in those years, and just get in early and just like put a lot of resources into making games for the mobile. And let me tell you something, they gave us some good games, they gave us some bangers with the Java games, like Activision, as I said, with the Avengers games. I think they also did Spider-Man games and just some other very fun games. I think they even did a Batman game for a Java phone, and Ubisoft also making a whole Assassin's Creed type games. Like they made like 3 or 4 for like Java phones. They made Assassin's Creed 2 and 3, I think, and there was another one also. I think Brotherhood was also on the Java phone, but that was a lot of years later after it had been more developed, and just technology had advanced more, and that was just like the later times, or to the end of the Java game era. Although there was a lot of potential, it was 1999 and the early 2000s still, and phones and tech in general just wasn't there yet to give full good game experiences, as most games for the phones were turn-based games. Phone memories were striking out at kilobytes, and now we have terabytes. Not even megabytes anymore is there. But in 2001, this all changed with one concept, at the Java conference in San Francisco. Java showed a concept for J2ME, Java 2 Micro Edition, and it showed promise. It was able to run fast action games on mobile unlike anything anyone had seen until then. And this meant that, quote, a revolution is come, Gameloft said. And this was the one piece, the one cog in the machine that really hit a turning point to where phones were capable enough to have games installed by the consumer reliably and also be profitable for the studios making the games. This is where they would be able to be bought outside of the mobile data fee. So back in the day, you had to pay the mobile data fee, and in that package there was also just a certain number of games that you are paying for also. But now with this, it separates the mobile data fee and the price of the game, so now you can just buy the game separately. And with that, I think everything was set. Now it was time for the Java era of mobile games to truly begin. Now in the next couple of years, a distinctive development were made to release a mobile version of Space Invaders, and Gameloft will launch the first game on the Java phone. This was Serbian Strike. This was the first of many for this company going into the mobile gaming market. Now after that, a few years later, a few more games later, they would release a bigger game, a more notable game for the phone called Prince of Persia, and a predecessor to their very own Need for Speed clone Asphalt series that has become very famous. Now with this, more and more games become more compatible with Java, and more will be getting released, evolving to bigger heights, bigger screens, bigger memory, better processors and colored screens, better resolution, and much more tools that would need just to make innovation in the game space a lot better and give a lot more leeway for more creativity. Now this was just the introduction of the Java based game, and during this time we didn't have any app stores, so everything was on website, which I think was honestly kind of unsafe, because I would like 8 download things off of websites I don't know, just clicking random button, and I could have easily gotten a virus, or better yet, just bricked the phone and completely messed everything up. But it's okay. But anyway, the Java game era lasted like 8 years, I think, from 2001 till 2008, 2009, 10, 11, I think. Yeah, and then like those later years, that's when we got away from those Java games that started fading in more with the App Store and different tools for development. So I think it peaked at around 2000 and then it just declined. It just started declining, more people moving to app stores, the Play Store, the Apple App Store, getting other development tools for making mobile games, getting more focused consoles rather than the mobile games, because it wasn't really profitable anymore. So yeah, it seemed that like I just wanted to remind you guys of this time in the mobile gaming space, and like how mobile games were before, where it was just like no ads, no things bloating your hardware, just not a lot of space, just straight gaming, straight having these experiences, and just no microtransactions, no pay to wins, and not even online weird things, just plain full good games that someone can download and enjoy. Okay, so this wasn't planned, but after seeing the reception of the last video I did on mobile games, I said why not make a follow-up to the video and the years that came after and leading till now. So yeah, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, me talking about mobile games or even playing other games, just leave a like. Let's try and get to like, I'd say 100 likes if this blows up, and just comment what you want me to do and subscribe please. I haven't eaten in a couple of days. So anyway, let's just get right into it. So where did we leave off? So we had just ended the Java era and we were starting to go into the sort of in-between era of mobile games till now. So this was like 2008 to like 2016. I think that's how long it lasted in my mind, because this was like still the part where most mobile game developers were really just figuring out the new technology and new hardware and just making new development tools that they could use and make mobile games. So during this time, mobile phones were advancing, and now we were fully going and moving on to smartphones and touchscreen phones and phasing out the other keypad phones. So I guess I'd call this era the early smartphone touchscreen era. Now, during this period of time, no one really knew what we were going to be getting with smartphones, and even if they would be worth it and reliable like the keypad phones that we had. And so there was kind of an in-between phase of companies trying to compromise and give us half smartphones and keypad phones like BlackBerry. And what they did, I think that one BlackBerry phone only used it like once in my lifetime, and I don't know what happened to it. I don't know where it went, but I just vividly remember using it and just seeing the little keyboard popping down from the screen, and it was just very cool, but it couldn't really survive in this era with how fast everything was moving. But anyway, during this period of time, no one really knew what we were going to be getting, and with that, the gaming sector or corner or whatever, and what was happening there was that most of the developers were really more than excited for the new technology and hardware that were coming in, and setting a standard for the games, and just setting the bar higher, setting a new standard for things that could be truly allowed to be done on mobile phones, and just take advantage of that so they could be able to be more creative and see their vision really come to life with the capabilities of the new technology. So let's get into the new era and let's talk about mobile gaming and how it was advancing in the early touchscreen era. So what I personally do remember from this era was an excitement for the types of new games that were coming out that I wanted to play. So I used to be excited for all these new games that I was seeing, like Subway Surfers, Asphalt, some other Game Loft games like Real Football, I think, and just all these new games, Temple Run, Candy Crush, Angry Birds, just these new, very improved, polished touchscreen games that were really just really figuring out the devices that were coming out and just pushing the limits and making the hardware better, making the games more fun. And I remember when all the big companies moved from using WAP and WAPtrick.com and WAPad.com and moved all their games to the Play Store. It was first a thing, and just remember seeing like how many great games were made before they evolved into the slop that we have now, and really how many great free games they were with very little ads. So during this time there was a really big hype around the first iPhone, first Samsung phones, even Nokia and Windows phones were being made, and they were still trying to be a player in this new generation. And also during this time there was something going on with, I think, Unreal, and them doing a project or like an engine or program. They were trying to use it in conjunction with some game companies to develop mobile games for new touchscreen phones and smartphones, and just really see how we can push this hardware harder and just push it to the limit, like what we can do really with these new smartphones coming out. So now with this, we started really seeing how games on phones were going to look like and play like with the Unreal like kind of demo thing. It was like full HD 3D worlds with bigger maps for us to explore and way more content and complex things for us to do in the games and in the maps. So it really felt like being in a new world that was just like in your pocket. And I'm going to try and find a list of games that use the Unreal thing and show it on screen just so you can see how it was used, maybe even play some clips too if I can find some of just what it looked like back then. But I do have to say, amongst all the terrible slop games that we have today, only thing I see I'm really sad about is that all the past games were delisted from the app stores, and it's very hard and time consuming to try and find these older games and get them working on these modern phones, and it just really pisses me off a lot because I don't understand why all those other games were just left in the past, deleted when they were fan favorites, and it just really pisses me off. Sorry for the rant. So anyway, this was just like the next evolution of mobile gaming, and it really started in 2007 with the drop of the iPhone. Along with that, in 2008, Apple also decided that alongside the iPhone, they were going to launch their very own app store, while all the other smartphones during that time that were being made were still having people download stuff off of websites. Now, what the app store did was have a platform available for developers to sell their games to their customers without mobile operators or publishers getting a cut. Kind of like some console games and indie developers, just like having the indie developers really be able to to be solo, start out in the industry solo, make their own game if they're skilled enough by themselves, and just publish it on the game console or whatever by themselves without needing like a big publisher to help them. But apart from just the impact that the App Store had on mobile gaming, it then again also impacted the whole smartphone world, the whole tech world, and even caused other smartphone makers to abandon their attempts at creating a more sophisticated smartphone environment. For example, BlackBerry and Symbian were trying to do this, and how? Well, they saw the success that the App Store had and what it was offering, and they also decided to try and build their own app stores to host their own apps and developers to make specific games and apps for the BlackBerry phones. But they just couldn't figure it out and crack it, and I believe that's one of the reasons why they couldn't really survive in the smartphone touchscreen era and why they got left behind. So after the failure of a big giant like BlackBerry struggling to compete with Apple in their App Store, there were now only really two major competitors who remained after the release of the iPhone, and that was of course the Apple and the Android based devices using the operating systems that had been developed by Google, and Windows in the background just meandering with the Windows Phone being made by Microsoft. So this is really where now, after Apple came out swinging with the App Store, that Google came out with the Google Play Store, and Windows also did something similar with the Windows Phone Store. Ultimately, however, we all know what happened to Windows and how very unreliable that the phones were and the OS was and how complicated it was, and Windows fell and wasn't really able to keep up with iOS and Android phone systems for them to be worthwhile or worth the buy. So Microsoft decided to really cease active development of the Windows Phone, which no one really liked. They were really hard to use. It was like trying to use a ported version of Windows 8 on a phone, which just didn't really it wasn't really appealing, and it wasn't really easy to use and really reliable. It was just confusing and just looked unpolished. And now it was only really iOS and Android as principal players in the mobile operating system and app market. So anyway, let's get back to the games. Let's talk about what transpired the year after 2008. So in December 2009, a company called Rovio Entertainment released a game you might know called Angry Birds on the App Store. Now this was a physics-based game involving throwing cartoonish birds at structures built by pigs who stole their eggs, and now we know and love these birds due to being just so big in our childhood and just being like a massive hit coming straight out of the gate. What you might not know though is that this fun and addictive and cheap game was really exclusive to the Apple App Store when it first came out, and later it was ported to Google Play Store for Android phones because it was just getting that big and not really a lot of people had iPhones. And in the Google Play Store it was really rebranded and made into a free version, but now with ads. Though you could pay to get rid of the ads, it was still like getting big and people still really wanted to play the game. So with them doing this, they had people both on Android and iPhones playing the games, and it was just very big, a huge success. But also think with that's how mobile games and Angry Birds started monetizing their games on multiple fronts, not only having a paid version of the game but also having a free version of the game on the Google Play Store, but also putting ads in the game so that they could monetize it and still make profit from having a free version of the game on the Google Play Store. And it was just really a huge hit and really showed companies just how much they could make having a free version of a game or a priced version of the game, and just really showed that this was really lucrative, and if they just made like a huge game that's like a big success, that they could be very big and be very noticed and have a good reputation. But now with the constant connectivity that the developers had with the consumers, this meant that now they were starting to see that they could profit off of advertisements and advertising in their games. So this really opened the door for them to be able to distribute their games on app stores for free while still making profits. So I'd say like it was better for them to make a game that's free, like just pump out more games that are free and that are like semi high quality and not really that high quality of a game, and then they could just like run ads in the games and profit from that, instead of just making like a game that's not really worth someone paying for it or buying it. So I'd say this also kind of rippled into PC and console games and gaming now because of have developers making free-to-play games but having a lot of microtransactions in the games and just like overpriced DLC and things like that, loot boxes maybe even, and things that you have to pay for to really experience the game if you really like the game. And that really made it easier for them to profit off of making these free games. But now I'd say this was important also because the fact that people could play games like Angry Birds, Temple Run, Candy Crush, Asphalt, and even Subway Surfers for free, meaning that a lot more people would be downloading the games since they were free, and more people would be playing them more and more, and more ads would be getting watched, meaning people buying microtransactions also, meaning the game devs would be making a lot of money. And this isn't any petty money and petty ways, because tons of people, including me, were loving those games. They were really good, they were really polished and great made games that were really fun to play, high quality games. And now me personally, I've never paid for a microtransaction in my life, but I see I have watched quite a lot of ads to get in-game rewards and stuff, so I'm guilty of that. But back then it wasn't really as crazy as it is right now, where I get spammed with an ad every 5 seconds trying to play a game and just end up deleting the game. And I'd say I'm pretty confident in saying that mobile games from 2008 to like 2015 were good and enjoyable and original high quality games, and then after that it just went off the deep end and just fell off a cliff in terms of quality and enjoyability and just, you know, playing time, because now this was when people started realizing like they could just put as many ads as they could in games, just make you watch ad after ad to get something that you want, and it was really just annoying. So what do you think killed mobile games? Because right now it's hot garbage and I hate it, and the industry, and I just hate all the games coming out. There's nothing good, and really just makes me want to, you know, not have a phone anymore, because the only thing I use it for is just calls, maybe watching a bit of YouTube and just really work and stuff, because there's nothing else to do. It's like we've reverted back to the 90s,
evolving just
or
back
before the 90s, where phones were just for calls and work, because everything else that is coming out isn't really worth it. There's no quality in that, there's no quality control, and it just makes me feel like I'd be better with a keypad phone or a flip phone. But anyway, what I think killed mobile games has got to obviously be the ads and greeds, and that would be the easy answer. But if I want to go more in depth, I'd say that this would be the price to pay. Get it? Because the games are free anyway, for having more vast and more technically advanced games being free. So the devs took advantage of that, and they knew that they could make addicting games that could pump advertisements out like every 5 seconds, and just like, you know, just make it really addicting, make it so people want to play it more, make a good game loop, and then just like put like 50 advertisements in it. But I'm talking later about after 2014-15, that's when it really became really bad. Okay, so let's go back. So let's talk about Gameloft. So during this time, there were actually juggernauts in the mobile gaming industry, and I can remember it used to be, I think, Gameloft and some other company called Glue, who in my head used to be competitors. And back then they were still making good quality games, and they were really fun and really not as greedy as they are right now. But to be honest, I don't know what happened or where Glue went, the game company, because it really just disappeared out of nowhere like this. But it just stopped making good games and kind of just fell off, and it was just Gameloft alone at the top, or should I say Greedloft, because after the fall off of Glue, Gameloft started making their games as money sucking, wallet washing, cash draining as they could possibly do, and that's the bottom line, and be making games play differently until you watch an ad or buy something in microtransactions, hiding some access behind paywalls, and just becoming very annoying and, you know, difficult to play and difficult to enjoy and like the games. But now, with the sites focused on the dollars, the French company's quality of games and the products are dropped significantly, and the games just became so much more boring and lame because of the ads and microtransactions being spammed in your face and just, overwhelming all your senses. Like, I could even feel it on my skin, like I'm just like losing my mind or something seeing these. So from my own experience with these games, I've experienced this through games like the new gangster games. I remember Gangster when it was really GTA on a phone, but anyway, now it really is like GTA on a phone, but just GTA Online and the bad part of online, and also other games that just take up space and pay to win, even so just very disheartening. What's crazy too is that before all this, on Java we even had Mortal Kombat ports, Street Fighter ports, and some other just great classic games that were ported over to these Java games, and really have a lot of high quality games that were just, fully functioning games that didn't have ads playing, that didn't interrupt you, and just let you enjoy the games. And now it just seems like a far concept of a thought that's left in the past. And listen, okay, listen, so I want to make a bet, and some betting is, if this turns out to be true, or if this turns out to be false, I'm going to go to the bank, sell my house, sell all my assets, sell my computer, sell my soul, sell my headphones, my microphone, my phone, everything I own in my house and everything. And I'm going to bet everything that I have in my possession, even bet the clothes off my back, that if you go to the App Store right now or Google Play Store, and the first game that you see in the top 100 top free or grossing games, that it's just going to be some terrible ad-filled cash grab slop game, and I put that on my soul and I've bet on it. And so all that leads us to today and the stable of mobile games right now. But maybe I'll make another video. Okay, so I guess it's time to wrap this up with the series I started a couple months ago, talking about mobile games and their evolution until where we are right now. I said that it would be a 3-part series with the history and how they started being made, then the evolution from the late 2000s to 2016, and now at where we are now with mobile games today. So from Nokia, Snake and Contra, to Asphalt, The Sims and Gameloft, to now whatever the hell we have today, this is the absolute state of mobile games today. And with that being said, welcome back to the channel and another video. If you're new here, subscribe and share the video and watch my other videos on the mobile gaming series. It helps out the channel a lot. And obviously enjoy this video as well. So let's get into it. So we left off back in 2016, back in the days where Pokemon Go was really big and the decline of mobile games and the app stores were really starting to show their cracks. Now, for me, this is when I started seeing more and more mobile game developers become more greedy and chase money rather than make a game with passion. And now I give the credit for the reason this started to happen was because in the regular console and PC games like Overwatch, early Fortnite days and other shooters and free-to-play games, loot boxes and season passes, battle passes and more menial microtransactions were getting introduced and becoming more popular than they ever were before. So as any other developer or entrepreneur, why would anyone make a mobile game and not also try to incorporate these mechanics into their games? And that's just what happened. This time though, it was way worse, for a couple of reasons. Well, for one, most of the target audience for these mobile games are kids, and kids who can't make good decisions at that and can't even comprehend what they're doing and how they're being manipulated with these ads to download these games and get these microtransactions, especially if these kids are on their moms, dads or older siblings' phones, or even have a device of their own linked to their parents' accounts. The problem is these kids would get hit with a pop-up ad or microtransaction or season pass, and since they want that thing in the game, whether a cosmetic,
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate, every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it.
I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been
At the time, all I had was a 360 and a PS2, or not having good enough internet connection to play online with my friends, or not having a good enough laptop that can handle the new modern games coming out to play PC games. All I really had were mobile games and modern mobile games that kept me up to date with modern gaming. So with mobile gaming showing positive growth across the globe, thanks to the crazy game devs and developer tools now being extremely accessible and easy to use. Even I could make a mobile game if I really wanted to. This definitely played a crucial role in the surge of growth for the past few years. And with the increased affordability of smartphones, like normal smartphones, not high-end smartphones like iPhones or Samsungs or stuff like that, just normal smartphones anyone can get. And also couple that with the accessibility of downloading games, mobile games and gaming has emerged as a leading category in gaming. So like with any niche market that grows rapidly, and also take into account the growth of mobile gaming being tied to how quick phones were and still are evolving, getting bigger, better, and having more technology integrated to make the phones faster and handle more stuff. It's no surprise that a lot of companies and people have oversaturated the market with apps and games that constantly fight for your attention and money, because in this age, attention and retention equals money. So all that brings us to where we are now. In an era where free-to-play games funded through in-app purchases, season passes, things locked behind paywalls, tutorials that take hours and steer you directly into loot boxes, the most annoying and unethical practices ever, where players can buy a virtual currency or items to enhance their gameplay experience, allegedly, where all this has become the norm and just draining the life out of what once was curious exploration and innovation in our pockets, to now having games like Candy Crush and Clash of Clans generating billions
with a B
of dollars in revenue. It's just off the terrible free-to-play mobile game business model. There have been attempts to move forward, however, with trying to make VR and AR games for mobile as a way to innovate more and just push it past this place we're stuck in right now. But too much money is already being made doing what works and at a cheaper cost without trying to innovate something new to make something better. Cause why would I change what I'm doing if it's making me so much money already? I'll just keep doing the same thing over and over until I'm satisfied. But though we had games like Pokemon Go and Ingress Prime, which demonstrated some of the potential of AR and AR games, and games like Beat Saber and Job Simulator trying to push the limits of what's possible in mobile gaming. Even though those two VR games were ported, it was still just a good attempt to see these games being ported over to mobile as a way to see what can be done. And so as for the future of mobile gaming, which is hard to predict as the future tends to be, it seems the industry will try and continue to evolve and innovate. And now with 5G networks, advanced AI, cloud gaming, and all the new technology coming up, mobile games can become more immersive, interactive, and more social than ever. And I think we can expect to see more games that try and blur the lines between virtual and real-world experience, as well as games that use biometric data and other sensors to create more personalized gameplay experiences or personalized ads to tailor to you. But is that really a good thing? And is this really something that we want? Yet something else to take our biometric data and personalize things in the name of privacy and data collection and entertainment, allegedly. For me personally, I don't like the direction of that. Instead, with how powerful phones have become nowadays and continue to become, I'd rather see a shift more towards emulation and ports of older console games done by the actual developers of those games and not fans. And I'd want these emulated games to be properly optimized so they could run on these phones nowadays and run well and run how they were intended to be. And with such a massive catalog of old games from so many developers that have been forgotten and have gone missing, it would also be a great way to kind of revive these developers and these older games and just bring them to a newer audience and a broader audience and have older fans play these games again and newer fans discover them. But that's just me thinking. So anyway, that's gonna be the end of the video and the end of this little mini series I started. I hope you enjoyed watching these videos and watching this video. Like, subscribe, and tell me what you think about these videos and tell me what I should do next. And yeah, share the video to anyone you think will enjoy this video and appreciate it. And I guess I'll see you next time. Bye.